Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Let's Talk It Out podcast. I'm your host, Alec Lifshos, a.k.a. Trey Busy. I want to thank you all for taking time out of your busy weeks to come have this conversation with us tonight. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys. I have a lot to talk about, as usual. Before I get going too further, I would like to have to thank Miles Wells for coming on last week. He was a great interview. He was a great guest. He shared a lot of insight about what needs to happen in our community, and he also talked about his story, his own diagnosis and how he overcame it. And I mean, that's really powerful to have that conversation with him. I really do appreciate him coming on and sharing that with us. So I just want to, before I go too much further into this conversation, I'm going to bring in my special guest tonight. Her name is Stacie Hopkins. She's a certified counselor. She does a lot for the community. She's a part of a National Alliance of Mental Health organization. She also has her own special blog coming out. So I'm just going to let her, I don't want to do all the talking for her. I'm going to let her come on and talk for herself.
Thank you so much for having me tonight. Yes, like I was saying, I definitely do have a blog coming out called Confetti Minds. And the idea behind Confetti Minds is just because I know a lot of times when you're going through mental health, you're going through anxiety, depression, there's a lot going on just inside of your mind. You have all your thoughts, other opinions from people. It's a lot to hold in, and you kind of want to feel like you need to explode sometimes. So I kind of compare it to kind of like confetti popping out of a cannon. So for me, it was more about making a blog centered around mental health, not only for myself, but for others to kind of get those ideas and those thoughts out in a blog and to have a safe place community.
So Confetti Minds is not only the name of your blog, that also shares the name with something else that you're a part of as well.
Yes, I am actually in the process of patenting the name, but Confetti Minds is also the name of my nonprofit that I've started with a group of high school students in low income areas. And I mean, just because of the effect of poverty, gang violence, not having someone there at home, kind of being like the latchkey kid in a sense, there's a lot of mental health issues going on in those communities, and it gives them a safe place where they don't have to sit there and resort to violence or turn to drugs and alcohol at a young age in order to deal with what's going on in their life. They do have a safe place with Confetti Minds. So that is the basis behind the nonprofit as well.
So it sounds like, that's literally the same conversation I've had last night when I was talking about these kids in these urban communities needing somewhere to go, or someone to talk to that actually understands them and understands that they are having a hard time expressing themselves. So that's amazing that you're starting a nonprofit, because it sounds literally exactly like the conversation I had last night.
Oh, wow.
Not the fact that
that's such a coincidence, but it's needed.
Not the fact that I'm not starting. I didn't say I was starting a nonprofit, but it was something that is needed, and the fact that you are in the process of making it happen, that's really amazing. So I just want to say hi to everybody in the chat room. I was talking to them a little bit. Just people are slowly but surely coming in. So yeah, Stacie, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy work life. I know usually you're in the courtroom.
Yes.
So I just want to put me in your shoes, like put me in a day of your life, your work life. Like, what does that entail of?
Well, for me, work life, I do have a lot of counseling clients that I work with, but I also sometimes help out with the Department of Children's Services. And that does involve me to be in court a lot, to testify on behalf of the kids in the room and, kind of be that voice for them, especially when they're under the age of 12 and they can't testify for themselves. So the work day is very, very long. Emotionally, it's rough just because it really makes you sit there and realize there are so many kids who don't get the help that they need when they're young, and they turn into adults who still haven't received the help that they need, and they're acting out in ways where okay, they need some type of counseling, they need some type of services in place, but no one ever sat there and said, hey, let me help them out. Everyone just kind of pushed it along.
I think the main thing.
And I can definitely.
I was gonna say the main thing they like doing with kids that are dealing with these kind of issues is they just decide to put them on medication immediately. That's like their go-to thing.
And it is. And I mean, as a child, I was put on medication. And I can say for myself, it didn't help.
No,
But I was able to have that conversation with my mom about that. And she was a little bit more helpful as compared to some parents who are already stressed because of their environment and their living situation. They're just thinking of ways to kind of just handle their child.
so I was saying how I talked to about someone else about this. I was saying just throwing somebody on medication is kind of like, people are having problems with like trees growing in their backyard or something, and they decide I'm just going to go cut a branch off and that's going to take care of it. But you're not getting to the root of the problem. You're putting a Band-Aid over it and hoping that things get better. And 9 times out of 10, that's not going to resolve the issue. I mean, they will say if a kid is dealing with ADHD, it will mild them out a little bit, but still, in the long run, man, that's not good for that child.
No, and I mean, if you have a kid who is getting beat at home every night when they go home by their dad, and then they're at school and they might be acting out, and you might be like, okay, no, this kid needs medication because they don't know how to sit still and they're not listening. So automatically they get put on medication because they're easier to deal with when the real problem is their home life. So there's always a reason to every behavior, and that's something that I use every day in my career because I don't believe people just do things just because.
It's incredible that you're able to just to go through that and like see these kids, because some people don't have the heart or the strong will to be able to go to work every day and see children that are struggling, at home, and it's not much you could do. I mean, you can help, as far as like taking them to court and, help fight the case and stuff. But just the fact that you have to go through that and be exposed to that every day, man. Some people don't have the heart or the strong will to be able to be around that. I know I would struggle personally, knowing that these parents are harming these children or leaving them by themselves or putting them in situations that's not conducive for them to have healthy behavior and lifestyles.
I mean, and it's hard. I mean, when I first started, it took me a while to try to find that balance between bringing my work home. And even now, I still have the habit of doing work when I come home. And I think with any career that you're in, though, it is finding that balance because you can get to the point where you are burned out and then you don't care about your job anymore. And, kids are suffering because of that. Your work is suffering. So it takes a toll on you, but it all comes back to self-care, which is so important.
What are some ways that you take care of yourself? I mean, you was telling me the other day that you kind of feel like you're burnt out a little bit. I suggested taking a vacation. Personally, sometimes it's best to just get away from it.
And I need to take one, honestly. Like that would be the ideal kind of self-care for me. But and this is just a little personal thing about me. I know for self-care, I was the person who would sit there and, almost every single day I would go get a bottle of wine or a bottle of this or a bottle of that. And that was my kind of self-care in a sense. And I thought that that was helping me. But for me, I was overindulging in the alcohol and everything as self-care. So I had to sit back and go to a counselor myself and kind of work some things out. And now I am at the point where I can say, okay, like if I need to wind down for the day, like I'll get a glass of wine. But I also know like the gym for me is my safe haven. So even if I know in the back of my mind, like, okay, like I've had a really, really stressful day and I want to go drink, like I'll say, okay, go run, go do something active to take your mind off this. Or even if I'm like in the car and I'm just taking a step back away from work, I have a coloring book, and a lot of people think it's kiddie-ish, but if you ever, I mean, you can go to Five Below, the dollar store, but they have therapeutic coloring books, and they really do kind of just help you take your mind away from the stress of the day.
Coloring books, ladies and gentlemen, that's the secret to coping with life. instances that you think are difficult, you get you a nice coloring book, and you sit there and stay inside the lines. No, but in all seriousness, though, I would never call anybody kiddie or childish for doing that, because you are expressing yourself through art. You take this piece of paper with this image on, with these lines, and you decide from yourself from within what's it going to look like when you finish it. You know, what color is this going to be? You know, how is this going to look? I would never call anybody childish for that, honestly. I mean, they do have these. Don't they have adult coloring books? You said they have therapeutic ones.
They do.
Yeah, I mean,
they have adult coloring books.
Are they like naked people in them? Why do they call them adult coloring books?
There are no naked people in them, but it's a little bit more complicated than the regular, like, you use like one color to color in the sun or something like that. Like, it might be like a 50 different things you got to color in the horse and stuff. Like, it's a little bit more complicated than regular kitty color books.
Apparently, the chat room is agreeing with you. Jackie says, she said for herself, I think it's important to apply self-care every day in the littlest ways, even a bubble bath, a walk outside, whatever little things we enjoy. She said coloring books are so good for anxiety as well. Lovely K says, I have a coloring book as well, or I clean my ass off. You know what's so funny, man? For me personally, if I am frustrated, I would go through a moment where I feel like I want to clean something, and I don't know what the hell, like, where'd that come from in me? It's
really?
like, yeah, it's like I'll just like go clean something, or cut something, and cut the grass, or go chop some trees down or something like that. You get frustrated and you feel like that you just need to just go fix something that's messed up.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go fix this, or let me go change this, that kind of thing. So
you kind of go into like fixing mode.
Kind of, just a little bit, just a little bit. Darren's making fun of me, talking about some laugh out loud. My mom says taking some reflective time, me time, meditation, or soft music, that always works. For me, I mean, you hit it right nail on the head when you said going to the gym, because I do try to do that as much as possible, because you're expressing yourself through how you choose the workout to go. You choose how it's going to go. Am I going to do cardio first? Am I going to do legs? Am I going to do chest? What am I going to do? How am I going to scope my body? Am I going to lift heavy? Am I going to lift, a medium weight? It's all about expressing yourself. Everything in life that's calming and relaxing is about you forcing your mind to think about something else and focus on other things when you're dealing with anxiety. So that's everybody keeps saying that they agree with the cleaning thing for anxiety. That the chat room, Meg says, I'm guilty for cleaning and fixing when I'm anxious or upset. Ryan says cleaning can be soothing, and Jackie, she suggests yoga. See, me, I haven't really gotten to yoga yet, man. I mean, I'm afraid that I'm gonna try to get into a position and not be able to get up. That's my biggest fear with that. Like, it just everybody be leaving, I'll still be sitting there on the pad.
They have beginner classes. They have beginner classes that'll work.
Well, I don't know. Maybe one day. So I want to, in all seriousness, I want to ask you, Stacie, when did you first discover your passion for mental health and for helping other people? Like, what was your earliest age that you can remember that you decided this is the direction I want to go in my life?
I would probably have to say at a young age, and again, personal disclosure, this is something personal for me, but at a young age, I was actually sexually abused. So for me, I didn't really have anyone who I could go and talk to about this, and I didn't have anyone who I trusted enough. And even though nobody really noticed, because I was doing well in school, I didn't really have the classic behavior issues of a child who was having problems and everything. I hid a lot of stuff inside, and I never dealt with it until I started getting into my own adult relationships, and I realized how toxic I was in my relationships.
Well,
so for me, yeah.
I was gonna say, I had no idea that you experienced that at a younger age. I'm glad that you were able to overcome it, and sometimes people cope with things differently. I'm just my mom's she's laughing talking about my other brothers came to her yoga class, but I never did because she used to teach yoga. First of all, don't ever put me on the spot like that ever again inside the chat room. Don't ever do that. Make it seem like I'm a bad son or something like that. That's not good. Lovely K said she likes walking as well. That yeah, I don't appreciate being put on the spot like that on my own show. That's just disrespectful.
So I love mama. That's it.
Yeah, we're not gonna do that tonight. So anyway, like I was saying, with the adult relationships, like okay, so tell me about like when was the first moment when you realized that you needed to seek therapy? Like you said it affected your adult relationships.
I think for me, just when I started dating as an adult, I noticed I was quick to push people away. I would make up excuses to not talk to people, not to really get close to them. Like I would have people literally pour out their hearts to me, and I would tell them surface things. And even like when people used to sit there and be like, "Oh, like I want this to go further," and like I just stop it, end it, move on to the next one. So I really had a hard time emotionally attaching myself to someone else.
That makes sense. I mean, a lot of people when they're a little hesitant or afraid for something, they try to leave it like they detach themselves from it slowly but surely. Or some people do it abruptly. They be like, oh okay, and then just stop talking to somebody just altogether, and they never really give them a reason why. They just I just whatever. I just didn't feel like things were working out with us, kind of thing. They're afraid of committing because they're afraid of being hurt again.
And that's what it really came from and everything. So for me, that's when I realized, like, okay, I needed to go see a therapist and I need to work out my own issues because I always said I wanted to be a voice for kids who couldn't talk for themselves. So, I mean, even in high school and everything, I volunteered with the National Alliance of Mental Health, and I volunteered at counseling clinics just to try to figure out how I could end up being that voice as soon as I got to school and got my degree and everything. And for a while I was so used to helping other people, I wasn't working on my own things that I needed to work on in my life.
You can't help others until you help yourself. That's for sure.
Exactly.
Not sorry to cut you off like that, but I just want to throw that out there.
Oh,
Darren says his girl is sitting there listening right now. He says that she's speaking right to her right now. Thank you. What you're saying is impacting her life. Jackie says I was toxic in the exact opposite way, which was awful as well. Gave my all to people who didn't deserve parts of me. And yeah, that's a huge thing too. Like you have to be able to identify if someone's worth you giving them that kind of effort, giving them that kind of attention. Feeling like I'm going to go ahead and just, this person deserves this part of me, but meanwhile that they're not reciprocating those feelings or actions at all. It's a slippery slope. For sure, it's a slippery slope. So I just looking at the chat room. I still can't believe my mom put me on the spot like that. I'm at a loss for words for that. So this organization, the National Alliance of Mental Health.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about when you became a part of that, and what do you do in that? Like what is your role?
Yeah, for me, high school freshman year, actually, I think it was kind of the point where I had just started wanting to deal with some of the stuff that was going on with me. But again, I didn't really have anyone to talk about, with what was going on. And they actually were at my high school for an event. And I was able to sit down and just kind of talk with them and see what they were about. And, they talked about being that voice for kids who are in foster care, who are in group homes, who have to go back and forth to court, who have to go through abusive situations, even for kids who are just going through everyday life and really being able to reach out with them, and not just kids, but adults as well, who are going through work life stress and divorce and, different things that impact all of us on an everyday basis. And for me, that kind of like had a light bulb go off in my head, and I was like, okay, this is something I want to do, kind of help people. And from that point on, I started just volunteering at rallies they would have, because they do try to get a lot of funding and support for mental health organizations, and to kind of fundraise and support more counselors in the community, because in a lot of communities there aren't enough mental health organizations. And if there are mental health organizations, you got to have insurance, or you pay out of pocket and you're going broke paying for a counselor. So there was no one there to really say, hey, I'm here for you, even if you don't have anywhere to pay. I'm here for you. And with NAMI, they were able to have counselors who did that. And that's something that I do now.
That's amazing that you guys are willing to go put that kind of effort in to help people out that, that need it, but if they can't support themselves. That kind of goes, hand in hand with why I started this podcast network those few months ago. I have professionals come on just like yourself and come on and answer questions from people that sometimes they can't afford to go see counselors, or they feel alone. We have a whole group of people in here that are willing to help each other and build each other up just by having conversation, just by being open with each other, just by answering honestly, and speaking honestly from their hearts. That's huge for people to do that. Mother says detachment or codependency is unhealthy. It's extremely unhealthy. Like I said, it's a slippery slope. There's a middle line that you need to find, and need to walk it. So Jackie says, wise mind right in the middle of emotional mind and logical mind. Yep. Darren says you guys are true heroes with that organization.
Thank you.
So do you guys, like, if I was to want to become a part of that organization, do I gotta get blessed in or something? Like, how does that work? Do they do like a ritual with like the hoods and the candles or something like that? Or
let me just shave your head off.
Well, you know what?
No,
I cut my hair off. I cut my hair off a couple weeks ago, so shaving it off wouldn't be that hard. It wouldn't be too hard. So,
but no, honestly, if you're interested in just being a volunteer, you know there's some type of way you have a talent that could benefit the organization. They have offices all around the United States. Please come volunteer, help out. You can literally just walk down to the office and let them know that you want to help out in any area that you can, and whether that's talking to older people, whether you want to help get more money for fundraising, or you're the type of person who likes to go to schools and talk to kids. There's literally something for everyone there.
You were kidding about the shaving the head thing, though, right? Just wanted to ask that real quick.
I'm not gonna express all the little secret details.
Okay, because if it's a non-profit and I'm not getting paid to do it anyway, I'm not finna just shave my head just because. I'm just saying. No, I'm kidding. Jackie says NAMI offers adult support groups at Northwest Community Hospital in Arlington Heights. They have family support groups as well. There I've attended. Arlington Heights, that's a hike, but maybe if I go like maybe once every other week, I can make that happen. B. Live Show says, I'm very delighted to know that the mental health is progressing and providing resources and help early in these children's lives. Yeah, like I said earlier, what you do for these kids is very, very amazing. The fact that you're able to be exposed to those kids dealing with those kind of conditions in life and not like be just like heartbroken over it, or like not like it would be really hard for me personally not to lash out at somebody's parents, honestly, especially if they were around and these kids were suffering.
Yeah,
it'll be very hard for me.
And it's hard, but then at the same time, I do have to realize some of their parents have never gotten the help that they needed.
That's 100% true.
They're under a lot of stress themselves. So, we have parents who have been abused themselves, who parents have done some of the abusing, and it's kind of a generational thing. And if you never seek therapy or counseling for what is going on, of course it's going to be passed down to your children, and it becomes a repeated cycle.
Stacie, did you have like a bug on my computer last night when I was on the other podcast? Because it sounds like that you literally are. You have brought up points that we talked about for like an hour yesterday. I was on Richard Taylor's Between the Dream podcast yesterday, and that's one of the points we talked about when it comes to people passing down generational like conditions, like certain conditions that they experience that they never get treated for. It gets passed on to the kids, and it just keeps going on and on and on. And there's psychologists that have wrote books about, read books about that they
Yeah.
can't be passed on. And it's like you sound like you were listening to the conversation from last night. I need to take my
No,
computer to
I
get
haven't
checked
even
out.
heard the podcast.
Are you my like are you because some people have FBI agents that look through their camera on their computer. Are you mine? Like I need to
I
know.
think I'm a little bit of the FBI, so
I just wanted because you literally brought up points that I had conversation about last night, and word for word, and I'm just like, wait a second, like hold on.
what is that great minds think alike? Isn't that what the saying is?
No, the
Exactly.
saying is you have my computer bugged. No, I'm kidding. Um, I'm kidding. But yeah, a lot of people they do pass it down. And a good example is that I was reading someone who was a counselor. He wrote about one of his patients said that she would wake up at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, just like freaking out, like having like these anxiety attacks and stuff like that. And to come to find out, like her great grandmother was in the Holocaust, and she used to wake up and like being afraid that they were gonna come find her and grab her and stuff like that. And she just dealt with those conditions, and she just passed them down psychologically to her. And it's just it's crazy to think
Oh
about
wow.
something like that can just be passed on like that. But I mean, again,
Yeah.
you have to when people don't get the right treatment for things that they've experienced or things that they feel, it doesn't go away at all. I'm sorry, it just doesn't just become better one day. It's a lifelong battle. But once you need to get a lid on it. You need to learn how to cope with it healthily. Find healthy ways to cope with it because it just doesn't go away on its
And I
own.
think that's the key part right there, finding healthy ways to cope with it. A lot of the coping ways we talked about earlier, those are healthy coping ways. But I think a lot of times when we kind of lean towards the self medicating options, they are only helpful for so long because at the end of the day, your problems are still there.
Yeah, they,
And
they
I
don't they
think a
don't
lot
go
of times
anywhere.
we forget that.
They don't go anywhere. I'm just looking at people in the chat room are saying, it's genetic coding and codependence. Well, we got people posting links about it's a codependent support group finder. Uh, Jackie posted a link for it's a website for NAMI saying find your local NAMI. It's a locator site. So that'd be pretty useful
Shout
for
out to
people.
you.
Yeah, that's definitely. Thank you for sharing that in the chat room. I will be looking at that after we're done with the show. But um, yeah, I mean, if people want to give back, and even if you don't want to, go through that organization, there's so many ways you can give back, man. Like, just go speak at
I
your
mean,
old school.
yeah.
I mean, go to your local church and talk to the youth, that kind of thing. I mean, it's so many ways, and I'm glad that you said what you said earlier about, when you said you were going to start the blog and you also started a nonprofit, Confetti Minds. That's
Mhm.
like I mean, when I say that spoke directly to the conversation I had yesterday. Most of these kids, they just need somebody that cares in their life. Like most of them, they go to school, and God bless the teachers, but most of them don't really pay attention to the kids. They're just like they have so many kids, especially in high school, so many kids, so many different classes. They want to make sure they get the curriculum. They don't become too interpersonal with them. I mean, it's not their fault, but they deal with a lot of kids on a regular basis. So
Yeah,
it's hard
and
for
I
them to get on a
mean,
personal level with them.
and that's the issue now, especially with the education system, because there's not enough school counselors, but they expect teachers to become counselors and parents and coaches. It's a lot on the teachers. So some kids do slip through the cracks, and then you have those kids who end up being the bad apples and they're being held back, or they're the kids who people are whispering about in the hallways, like, oh, they're never going to amount to anything. They'll be just like their parents. These are the kids who aren't being heard. And it's some kids who aren't being heard who are A students and don't make any problem at all. So you just can't stereotype one kid and put them in a box and say, okay, I'm only going to help this kid because they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. I think it's up to us, especially as the, the adults in the situation, to really help the next generation and let them know that they're not alone. Just like now, how we're talking about things that, all of us go through on an everyday basis. These kids need to know that we've been through a lot of the same things they've been through, and we've made it this far, and they can too.
Yeah, I mean, and just to go back to what I was saying about these kids that go to school with the teachers, most of them come from single parent homes, right? They live with one parent. Most of the time it's their mom, and she goes to work. She works maybe, I don't know, 8, 10, 12 hours sometimes a day. And when she comes home, she's not really focused on connecting with her child. I mean, if you go to work 12 hours, what do you focus on when you get home? Eating and relaxing, right?
Man, my bed.
Eating and relaxing in my bed. And it's like these kids just go through life at a young age just feeling like there's no one really connecting with them. You know what connects with them? What connects to them is the music they listen to and the things they're exposed to. They're a product of their environment. I mean, these kids, some of them, they grew up in neighborhoods where they hear gunshots all morning or hear gunshots at night. That's not normal to hear gunshots, when you're walking outside taking your trash out. And somehow, some way, they think it becomes normal, but it subconsciously causes these kids to develop PTSD, man. And it's like they develop anxiety from it. And it's like they grow up and they never get treated for it. And it's just a cycle that keeps continuing. It's really sad. Honestly, I had a conversation about it recently, and it's really sad that that's what they're exposed to, and that's what they're forced to live with, and they really have nobody to connect with, which I'm really happy about your organization, your nonprofit you're starting, Confetti Minds, because like just connecting with these kids. And you could tell, like, when they feel like you're connecting because the look on their face, it's like, wow, this person person actually knows what I'm going through. This person actually, cares about what I have to say. They're not going to just, write me off or just like overlook me. They actually are interested in me as a person, and they don't really experience that, like I said.
No, they don't. And I mean, just someone who just cares about them, because a lot of these kids, I mean, and they're actually in the process of helping me try to make the nonprofit even bigger, and try to get some fundraising and everything done for it. But just talking to them, I mean, they didn't have anyone show up to graduation except for me. So being in a position like that where you feel like you're trying your hardest to get out of your situation, to get out of your environment, but everyone in your environment is trying to hold you back. And people are so easy to say, like, pull yourself up by your bootstrap and, it'll be okay and hard work pays off. But when you're stuck in that type of environment, it's so much harder to get out when you don't have the support that you need.
It really is. And Darren made a good point. He said the hardest ones to love need it the most. And that's 100% true, because sometimes they put on this tough exterior shell as a protection way because they've been hurt before. They don't want to be hurt again by people. I mean, that's just like literally like, one-on-one personality, someone who's acting hard or acting tough or, acting like they don't care about things. They really do deep down care, but they've been hurt before and they don't want nobody to hurt them again. So,
I mean, yeah, that's true.
B. Lifshow says the basic needs of a human being is to be accepted, loved, have significance, and to be safe. These basic needs are neglected in these children's lives. CB Fan says, Stacie, you're doing great. Kudos to Stacie for what she does. Jackie says, I think it's great for kids to have groups with their peers as well, because we can all feel very alone in the midst of our mental health. That's that's so true, man. You can feel alone with a room full of people. I've been there before. You be out, go out with family, or dating wise, be out or be with friends, and you just like feel like an emptiness inside you. You feel like you're just there. You just feel like you're just existing, and that's a terrible way to feel, man. That's what the lowest of the low, when you feel that kind of depression, when you just feel like you're just existing and just life just isn't like, you feel like certain things just don't mean much to you that you used to care about. Things that you used to love, you don't care about the same. That's when you get to the point where you need to find help immediately.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been in that position, and I mean, it's hard to get out of it. I can't even lie because once you've reached that point, I mean, it's like you kind of want someone to reach out, but at the same time, you're kind of like, what's the point?
Yeah, I
And
mean,
it's difficult.
it's very difficult. I'm just going through the chat room. Chat room was really, really going at it. Jackie says, you are a blessing to so many children. Stacy, God bless you. CB fan says, we're making great points. It's just, yeah, I mean, Stacy, you're doing really, really great work. I was in the process of telling everybody, I was typing out, thank you for listening to everybody listening tonight live, because I really do appreciate you guys. You guys are giving great feedback.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. And I mean, kind of like you were saying earlier, how I mean, even just getting involved in your local schools and your local churches and local communities. I definitely would encourage everyone, even if it's not just a group of kids, even if it's just one kid. Um, yeah, I don't think people realize how much progress you can help that kid go through, how big of a support you could be. I mean, if you just take a kid out to lunch and just talk to them, it can, I mean, literally make the world of a difference in someone's life.
Just to let them know that someone cares. I mean, that's how, I always feel, good when I go visit my father or go see my little brothers. They look up to me, like they're always so excited to see me. They just run to me and they want to tell me everything that's going on and share things with me. And that's what you need. That's what you need to get these other kids to be like with you. Like, you get used to them. You go see them. You let them know someone cares. You get them somebody to look up to. Most of these kids, they look up to what do they look up to? The guy in the neighborhood that has the nicest car, that's doing this. The guy always has a lot of money. That's what they look up to because that's what they see.
Yeah, or a lot of them are like they want to be rappers.
I was gonna say, show them a positive form of life. Show them that there's more in the world than just material possessions. That's all I'm saying.
And that's true. And I mean, that's not even saying like everyone, has to get this big old degree and go to college. Like trades are so important. And I mean, if you have a trade, you make so much money anyway. But I think letting them know that there's a way to make a decent living without having to snoop down to selling drugs or doing illegal things that might end up in jail. Like there are ways around this to make your life better and to get out of the situation that you're in. But we do have to show them that those opportunities are out there because no one's going to their neighborhoods and telling them that they have a chance and opportunity to do this and do that. I think it was one high school in Alabama. It was a poster up advertising for the class of 2019 saying that they had positions open for strippers.
Wow. Not strippers,
And
though.
for strippers, and they interviewed a couple of the girls from the high school, and a lot of them felt like that was the best that they could do was stay in their hometown and go apply there. They didn't realize that there was a whole world of opportunities. And that, not to say that there's something wrong with stripping, but I think we all do need to look at what else is out there in the world. Like there's more than just our backyards.
Yeah, you need to go ahead and step a little bit out of your comfort zone in life. Again, yeah, that's man, that's just to stay at home. Imagine staying at home just to be a stripper and never moving on from your hometown. Like, come on, you know. Now, like you said, like the whole, and granted, that's a huge discussion right there. The whole parents like force them to go to college. Well, why don't you see what the kid wants to do? Why don't you ask them what do they want to do with their life? What do they feel like doing? You force the kid to go to college, and he's like, he doesn't want to be there in the first place, or she doesn't want to be there in the first place. So now they're there just collecting debt for no reason, like just
Exactly.
not going to classes, not putting forth effort. Find out what they want to do before you force them to go to college and end up being tens of thousands of dollars in debt. You know what I'm saying? Like you could, like you said, trade school. I've done trades. I mean, you make pretty good money, but without being thousands of dollars in debt.
And that's the thing. And I think a lot of people try to sit there and down on jobs that don't have degrees. And I mean, if you want to go to a field that you have to go to college for, you got to go to get a master's, you have to go to get a PhD. There's nothing wrong with that. I am all here for it. But also, don't discourage those kids who want to go to barber school because they're really good at cutting hair, or the kids who are really good at being a mechanic. There are jobs and opportunities out there for them, but don't push them to be something that they're not, because then you're setting them up for even bigger failure when they graduate after 4 years with a degree that they really don't want to use. And now they have all this debt. And of course, I mean, no one's there to help them pay it back. So
The people that forced them to go definitely won't be there to help them pay it back. That's all I'm saying.
oh no.
So, B Live Show says, show them acceptance and unconditional love. Their lives do matter. Shar says, simply altering their environment will allow a shift in them. Mental health professionals are real blessings. Yes, they are. Jackie says, when I see my daughter is a kind-hearted person, I praise that so much and know I did something right, because that's what makes someone beautiful and the world a better place. Absolutely. Just some people that are actually kind and without it getting anything in return. Darren says, thank you, Alec. Ask the kid their dreams. Figure out what the kid wants to do before you force them to go to college because you never graduated. You need to be the first person to graduate from college in our family. No, I don't. I need to be the first person to do what makes me happy. That's the first thing. B. Lisho said, this is sad. A child have dreams and no one dream of being a stripper. This is degrading. Well, I wouldn't say no one dreams of being a stripper. Maybe some people do. Like maybe they I don't know. No, I'm kidding. Well, I might not be. I don't know. They might. You never know.
Exactly. And I mean, if that's your dream, but I mean, hey, take that dream further. Like, be the owner of the strip club then.
Right. I mean, if you're gonna be a stripper, just go all out. Get your own strip joint. No, I'm kidding. We're not gonna talk about stripping. This is Let's Talk It Out podcast. This is not no Breakfast Club or no shit like that. We're having a conversation about mental health and helping give back to the community and helping people grow into the person they need to be. We're not gonna talk about that, okay? Don't bring that on here. If you want to bring that on here, go to some table talk with like 3 other people that sit around and talk about that kind of thing. We're not doing that here. No, I'm kidding. I'm messing with you. I'm just saying, but seriously though, I'm sorry, Stacie.
He said go to the table talk.
Go to some Breakfast Club with that conversation, all right? We're not talking about strippers on Let's Talk It Out, even though we did talk about them. So
for a second.
Yeah, for about a good 4 minutes. I'm gonna put that. By the way, I'm putting that inside the description of the conversation. CB Fan says even strippers have mental health issues. Yeah, most of the time they have really, 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 really low self-esteem. Really, really low. And they let people walk all over them. I mean, I said we're not talking about that, okay? Nope. I'm not. I won't do it.
Well, besides that profession, I mean, you have CEOs who commit suicide. You have famous actors and actresses who commit suicide. And I mean, people think that they have nothing in the world to complain or, care about or worry about. But yet they do have all these hidden demons that they don't show to the outside. And that goes against to say you never know what someone is going through. So, I mean, that goes back to having that kind heart. And even if you're just walking down the street and you say hi to someone, have a nice day, that can make a world of a difference to someone who might have thought about committing suicide when they got home, just to say, hey, I'm not invisible. Someone does see me.
Just a simple kind gesture. I'm not one to share, like, I don't like talking about things I've done for people like off the record, but I'll just share a quick story. It was Valentine's Day, like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and the person I was dating, I was at the store, getting some things to cook and getting like the wine and that kind of thing. And I overheard a conversation when I was in the checkout line. It was a young lady talking to her mom. Young lady was really excited. She was talking about how, don't you love Valentine's Day, mom? Blah blah blah. And the mom goes, that's whatever to me. I really don't care. Nobody ever gets me anything. Blah blah blah. So I was like, you know what? I just felt like doing something nice for somebody. So I just I guess I grabbed like a thing of chocolate, and I literally paid for it. And after I paid for it, I turned around and handed it to the little girl, and I said, "Here, get this to your mom and tell her Happy Valentine's Day." And I didn't know this woman. I didn't ask her for her name. I didn't get her number.
Yeah.
I just did that just because I felt like it was the right thing to do, and it made her day. She was happy about it. She was smiling. She was like, "Thank you," blah blah blah. Like I said, I really don't like sharing stories, but just since we're talking about sometimes it's okay just to do something nice for somebody, But I really hate when people do nice things for people just to get likes on social media, because I would never share that shit on social media. I'll never talk about that on Facebook. I'll never post that in an Instagram story, because I don't do things for acceptance from my peers or from people I don't know. I do things because it's the right thing to do. A lot of times when people do say, thank you really for the podcast and blah blah blah. I undermine it sometimes when people do that, because it's I don't do it for that. I don't do it for I don't for the recognition. I do it because it's needed, and not many other people will be willing to do that. Not many people are willing to sit on a podcast and have a live conversation about mental health because they're afraid to talk about it. They're afraid to talk about it. They're afraid of who they are and what they're dealing with because they're not afraid to face their demons. That's all I want to say.
That's true.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. Thank you for sharing that. Because it's not something that you do just broadcast, but clearly it did make someone's day. And I think, and it's not something I'm saying you have to do every single day, try to go out your way, because at that point you're not doing it because you really want to. You're doing it because you feel like you have to. But just a random moment. People are always talking about pay it forward and everything. Just little things like that. If you see someone struggling, getting with their kid, or, struggling with groceries or something like that, or if you see someone who looks like they're having a down day and, they're just kind of sitting by themselves, not saying you have to go and struck up a whole conversation with a stranger because you might not feel comfortable with that, but just kind of, giving them that quick word of encouragement and, just being that face of a different world, because that's not something we see every day. And if we do see it, it's someone in the news giving $10,000 and all this stuff. Some of us don't. I know I don't have that type of money to give. So, there's other things we can do that aren't financial and, that aren't going to cost a lot just to make a difference.
Just the smallest gestures could literally make somebody's week. Just the smallest things. Just saying something to somebody, like you said, and nothing pisses me off more than those people that take pictures of them handing homeless people food or money. I just want to just punch those people that do that. That pisses me off. I'm sorry. Jackie says, I think that's important to be present in our day lives, to notice those around us, and even smile or take that 2 seconds to say, how is your day? CB Fan says, quietly doing what is right is huge. The right thing to do should come second nature and be a part of all of our lives. Yeah, well, it wouldn't be as special if it was a part of everybody's life. Some people are just not made that way. Some people are just selfish. What's the saying goes? Sunshine wouldn't be so special if it wasn't for the rain.
And that's true, though.
This is an evil world we live in, but the good people, we need to hold on to them and keep them close to us. That's all I'm saying. So with that being said, we're a little bit past the 49-minute mark. Stacie, I want to ask you if you have anything last things that you want to say to the audience.
I definitely just want to continue to encourage everyone, no matter what you're personally going through in your own lives. Continue to surround yourself around those people who you can talk to, who you can trust. If you don't have a therapist, you still have that support group. Even on here now within the group chat, that's a support group, and knowing that you're not alone, and just expressing that to other people, because a lot of times we do hide our anxieties, our depression, our worriness, the things that we go through, because we feel like no one else will understand. But clearly, there's a whole group full of people who understand what everyone is going through. So continue to reach out.
Continue to reach out and continue to, encourage each other, because that's huge. And again, like, I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. People that can't tune in tonight, I want to thank you for being subscribed to the podcast network and listening. Jackie says, thank you so much, Stacie. Great combo tonight as usual. B Live Show says, thank you, Stacie, and thank you for the work you do. It's absolutely appreciated. Yes, it is. I want to read something.
Thank you guys so much.
CB Fan says, 80% of Americans living week to week. We all need to help each other. It's all about love, people. Absolutely, 110%.
There we go.
So I want to thank you guys for coming in tonight. So I want to make an announcement. Next week, there will be 2 live episodes of the Let's Talk It Out podcast. I decided to do a special show on Tuesday. So I'll be recording on Tuesday at 8 p.m. and we'll be recording on Thursday at 8 p.m. So I expect everybody to be there Tuesday at 8 p.m. Darren says, great speaker. She helped my house more than she knows. CB Fan says, great guest. Alec, Stacie, an eloquent speaker. Yeah, again, Stacie, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on and having this conversation with me tonight. But yeah, I look forward to talking to you guys on Tuesday, not Thursday, on Tuesday next week. So you guys have a good evening, and I'll talk to you shortly.
Good night. Thank you, guys.